I'd been out of work for nearly 2 months. At first, it felt manageable, updating my resume, sending out applications. But the silence that followed began to chip away at me. One rejection turned into 20, and soon I was counting coins to buy instant noodles while dodging calls from my landlord. That's when I saw the ad. It looked outdated, like someone built the site in a rush and never checked it again. But there it was, the Wendy's logo, bright and familiar. Part-time staff needed, weekly pay, immediate start, must follow upper management's instructions. No contact info, no application portal, just a big red apply button. I told myself it was probably just a rural franchise running on outdated tech. I didn't need polished. I needed income. So I clicked. Less than an hour later, they texted me the address. It led to a forgotten corner of town, past rows of broken warehouses and crumbling fences. When I pulled up, I sat in the car for a long moment, just staring. The Wendy's sign was mirrored from inside the glass. The neon lights flickered with a sickly hum. Every window was so caked in grime it looked like they were trying to keep the light out. I reminded myself this wasn't downtown. It was the edge of the city. Places like this were always a little rough around the edges. As long as they paid me, I didn't care what it looked like. So I got out of the car and walked in. The smell hit me first. Stale fryer oil clinging to layers of bleach. Then manager stepped out from the back, wearing a stained, faded apron. No greeting, no name, just a cold glance, then silence. He asked for my ID, gave it a quick look, then said,
"You good to start today?"
The speed of it threw me off. No paperwork, no questions, but I needed this. "Yes," I said. He handed me a faded shirt and nodded toward the back.
"You're on kitchen duty. All meat prep comes through you. The freezer's your station now."
The freezer was colder than any I'd ever been in, and it wasn't just the temperature. The air was thick, foul, metallic. The meat wasn't packaged in neat boxes or sealed bags. It was piled in torn plastic sheets, dark liquid leaking from every side into puddles on the floor. Some pieces looked mauled. "I thought Wendy's used fresh beef," I muttered. The manager appeared behind me without a sound.
"We just sell whatever upper management sends us. Don't ask questions."
I should have walked away. But that night he handed me an envelope, thick, soft, with a stack of cash folded inside. So I came back the next day, and the day after that. The place stayed busy. Drive-through cars looped around the building. Inside, people devoured their meals like they hadn't eaten in days. But after just a few days, customers began to return, their faces pale, their movements slow and shaky. Some burst through the doors, clutching their stomachs, demanding answers, their voices rising with panic. I told the manager, twice, but he didn't flinch, just stared at me with that same unreadable face.
"Some people just can't handle it."
Later that night, he handed me another envelope, thicker than the last, warm from his pocket. I should have walked away right then and there, but something held me back. Maybe it was guilt. Maybe it was the image of those sick, helpless people who'd eaten what we served them. I couldn't ignore it anymore. I had to find out where that meat really came from. The next night, when the delivery truck pulled in, I followed it. It drove miles out of town and veered off the road into a fenced compound labeled Dawn Bend Livestock. I parked off-road and climbed through a hole in the fence. There were pens, dozens of them, and inside were cows, if you could still call them that. They twitched and stumbled, barely able to stand, skin flaking, covered in raw patches. Their eyes glowed red, pupils wide and erratic, and the sounds they made. They didn't moo. They screamed, long, high-pitched wails that curdled my spine. Men in hazmat suits moved between the pens, spraying thick chemicals. One of them muttered,
"It's too late! The virus is in the marrow!"
And then I saw him, my manager, standing at the center of it all. Before I could move, one of the cows saw me. It charged. I turned to run, but the ground gave way beneath me. My feet stuck in the mud. I couldn't breathe. The thing came barreling toward me, and then something slammed into me from the side. The manager, he'd thrown me out of its path. We hit the ground hard. The cow crashed into the fence with a sickening crack, but didn't stop. He grabbed the meat cleaver from the ground and without hesitation brought it down in a single, brutal arc, severing the creature's head. It dropped instantly, its body crumpling into the mud like a sack of ruined flesh. We sat there in the mud, both gasping for breath.
This place used to raise black market cattle, sick animals, mutated strains. We thought we could contain it, but the virus changed. They're not cattle anymore.
Before I could respond, a voice rang out from across the yard.
"Inspectors are almost here."
Everything snapped into chaos. The manager tossed me a hazmat suit and told me to put it on. Said it might protect me from whatever this thing was. Then the workers rushed in, brandishing meat cleavers and stun guns, charging the pens. The creatures, if they were still animals at all, screamed as they were slaughtered, blood spraying across the walls, splattering our boots and gloves. I moved with them, helping without thinking, without understanding. Yes, even me. Minutes later, the pens fell silent. Bodies were dragged behind the shed. Bleach flooded the concrete. Everyone worked fast, scrubbing, covering, erasing what had just happened. By the time the inspectors arrived, the farm looked quiet, clean, almost normal. But I wasn't. My skin burned. My throat tightened. Something inside me pulsed, desperate to escape. One inspector approached.
"You all right?"
I opened my mouth to answer and vomited black sludge straight into his face. Then, everything went black.
The